For countless millennia, the Tesha Empire had ruled over the galaxy with an iron fist, subjugating civilization after civilization through the most insidious of means, mind control. Unlike traditional forms of conquest, the Tesha did not rely on brute force or advanced technology to assert their dominance. Instead, they possessed a unique ability to manipulate the very perceptions and emotions of their targets, bending the will of sentient beings to their own desires. At the heart of the Tesha's power was their mastery of the subtle arts of mental influence. They could infiltrate the subconscious of their victims, altering how they perceived the world around them. A stern-faced soldier could be made to see a trusted friend, a dreaded enemy transformed into a beloved ally. With a mere suggestion, the Tesha could override even the most ingrained loyalties and ethical beliefs, turning the most steadfast defenders against their own comrades. This subtle form of mind control was far more devastating than any conventional weapon. The Tesha need not fire a single shot to subjugate a world. They simply had to whisper the right words, to prod the right emotional triggers, and their targets would willingly surrender themselves into servitude. Entire civilizations fell under the sway of the Tesha, their populations obediently carrying out the Empire's orders without question or resistance. It was through this insidious mastery of the mind that the Tesha established the First Federation, a sprawling interstellar alliance that on the surface appeared to be a beacon of cooperation and democracy. In reality, the votes and decisions of the Federation were carefully orchestrated by the Tesha, who installed their loyalists in positions of power and ensured that the interests of the Empire always took precedence. For generations, the Tesha's reign of mind control went unchallenged, their dominion over the galaxy seemingly unassailable. That is, until a new and unexpected power emerged on the galactic stage, the Imperium of Terra. As the Tesha ambassador's void ship, the TKS Garena, dropped out of warp at the edge of the Sol system, the crew's assumptions about the technological primitives of Terra were quickly shattered. Instead of the expected rudimentary spacefaring capabilities, the Terran system was bristling with advanced military defenses, rapid response fleets patrolling the void, heavily armed orbital platforms, and a clear dedication to the arts of war that caught the Tesha by surprise. Ambassador On, standing on the bridge of the Garena, had read the reports from her predecessors who had encountered similar, undeveloped civilizations. Their standard approach of offering the promise of a brighter future under the auspices of the First Federation had usually been enough to sway the hearts and minds of the targeted populations. But as she gazed upon the formidable displays of Terran military might, On knew that this would be no ordinary first contact. Suddenly, a gravitic disturbance ripped open the void in front of the Garena, and On's breath caught in her throat. Rather than the sleek, streamlined design of a Federation vessel, a ship of crude, angular construction materialized, its hull bristling with weapon emplacements. On's mind raced, desperately trying to comprehend the implications of this unexpected development. As the Terran ship powered up its systems, On knew she had to act quickly. Reaching out with her mind, she attempted to exert the Tesha's signature brand of mental influence, seeking to soothe the alien crew and convince them of the Federation's benevolent intentions. But to her shock and horror, her mental probes were met with an impenetrable mental barrier. Her powers, which had subdued countless civilizations, held no sway over the Terrans. Panic gripped the Tesha ambassador as she realized the terrifying truth. The Imperium of Terra was immune to the variabilities that had allowed the Tesha to dominate the galaxy. With this realization, On knew that her mission, and the Tesha's entire way of life, were now in grave jeopardy. As the Garena and the Terran vessel faced off in the void, a charged silence hung between them, broken only by the occasional crackle of communications. Ambassador On, her composure shaken, desperately attempted to reach out to the Terrans, hoping to appeal to their reason and persuade them of the Federation's noble intentions. But the Terrans, their military discipline unwavering, refused to be swayed. Time and time again, On's mental probes were rebuffed, her attempts to manipulate the Terrans' perceptions and emotions met with an impenetrable mental fortitude that defied all of the Tesha's established methods of control. Frustrated and growing increasingly desperate, On resorted to more overt displays of power, ordering the Garina's weapon systems to be primed and trained on the Terran vessel. Yet, even in the face of this show of force, the Terrans remained steadfast, their own weapons systems powering up in response, ready to defend their home system against the perceived Tesha threat. As the standoff continued, On's realization of the gravity of the situation only deepened. The Imperium of Terra, a civilization she and her kind had assumed to be easily subjugated, had proven to be a formidable adversary, one that was not only technologically capable of resisting the Tesha's might, but also immune to the very mental manipulations that had been the cornerstone of the Empire's power for millennia. With no means to break the deadlock, On knew that she had no choice but to retreat, her mission a failure. As the Garina turned and fled the Terran system, the Tesha ambassador's mind raced with the implications of this unexpected development. If the Imperium of Terra could resist the Tesha's mental control, then the very foundations of the First Federation and the Tesha's dominance over the galaxy were now under threat. The return of the Garina to the First Federation citadel sent shockwaves through the Tesha leadership. Ambassador On's report, detailing the Imperium of Terra's unexpected military capabilities and, most alarmingly, their immunity to the Tesha's mind control abilities, was met with disbelief and growing panic. For generations, the Tesha had relied on their mastery of mental manipulation to assert their control over the galaxy. The very idea that a primitive civilization could resist their powers was unthinkable, a threat to the very core of their empire's dominance. Heated debates raged within the halls of the First Federation as the Tesha High Command grappled with this unforeseen challenge. Some argued for a diplomatic approach, offering the Terrans the same temptations and promises that had brought countless other civilizations under the Federation's sway. But others, their pride stung by the Garina's failure, insisted on a more forceful solution. In the end, it was the latter faction that prevailed. The Tesha, unwilling to accept the existence of a species beyond their control, decided upon a bold and desperate gambit. They would assemble a massive invasion force, overwhelming the Terrans with sheer military might, and then use their mental powers to subjugate the population, crushing any hopes of resistance. With this plan in motion, the Tesha mobilized their vast resources, drawing upon the manpower and industrial might of the First Federation to construct a formidable armada. As the Tesha fleets amassed at the edge of the Terran system, the stage was set for a clash that would determine the fate of not just the Imperium of Terra, but the entire galaxy. The arrival of the Tesha invasion fleet at the edge of the Terran system was a sight to behold, a vast armada of sleek, angular vessels, bristling with advanced weaponry and the mental powers of the Tesha. Ambassador On, once again at the helm of the Garina, led the charge, her mind focused on the task at hand. As the Tesha ships surged forward, the Terran defenses sprang into action. Orbital platforms unleashed barrages of energy beams and kinetic projectiles, while the Terran fleet maneuvered with deadly precision, their vessels interweaving in a display of tactical mastery that caught the Tesha by surprise. On, sensing the opportunity, unleashed the full force of her mental abilities, her consciousness reaching out to infiltrate the minds of the Terran crews. But to her dismay, her probes were once again met with impenetrable mental barriers, the Terrans were seemingly unbreakable. Undeterred, the Tesha ambassador pressed on, her subordinates joining the mental assault, their combined powers focused on overwhelming the Terran defenses. Yet no matter how relentless their efforts, the Terrans remained steadfast, their ships and crews continuing to fight with unwavering determination. As the battle raged on, the Tesha fleet suffered mounting losses, their advanced technology and mental prowess proving ineffective against the sheer resilience and ingenuity of the Terran forces. On, her confidence shattered, realized with growing dread that the Tesha's greatest weapon, their ability to control the minds of their adversaries, had been rendered useless against the Imperium of Terra. In a final, desperate gambit, the Tesha ambassador ordered her remaining ships to concentrate their firepower, seeking to overwhelm the Terran defenses through sheer destructive force. But the Terrans, undaunted, responded with a coordinated counterattack that punched through the Tesha formations, inflicting devastating losses and forcing the invasion force into a hasty retreat. As the battered Tesha fleet limped away from the Terran system, Ambassador On's mind was consumed by a maelstrom of disbelief and despair. The Imperium of Terra, a civilization the Tesha had assumed would be easily subdued, had not only withstood their mental onslaught but had also dealt a crushing military defeat to the invading forces. Back at the First Federation Citadel, the news of the Tesha's failure spread like wildfire, shattering the illusion of the Empire's invincibility. For the first time in countless generations, the Tesha found themselves facing a threat that challenged the very foundations of their power, a species immune to their mental manipulation and capable of resisting their military might. Desperate debates erupted within the halls of the Federation as the Tesha leadership grappled with the implications of this unprecedented development. Some argued for a renewed diplomatic offensive, while others advocated for a more aggressive approach, seeking to overwhelm the Terrans with sheer numbers and firepower. But as the Tesha deliberated, the Imperium of Terra was already taking action. Emboldened by their victory, the Terrans began to assert their presence on the galactic stage, forging new alliances and challenging the First Federation's long-standing dominance. The Terrans' resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering determination in the face of the Tesha's mind control became the stuff of legend, inspiring other civilizations to stand up against the Empire's oppressive rule. For the Tesha, the realization that their most potent weapon, their ability to control the minds of their adversaries, had been rendered useless against the Imperium of Terra was a devastating blow. As they watched their grip on the galaxy begin to slip, the mighty Tesha Empire found itself facing an uncertain future, one where the primitive Terrans had become the only species immune to their mental manipulations. In the end, it was the triumph of human ingenuity, resilience, and determination that shattered the Tesha's reign of mind control, paving the way for a new era of galactic cooperation and resistance against the once unassailable Empire. The Imperium of Terra had emerged as a beacon of hope, inspiring other civilizations to stand up and reclaim their freedom, a testament to the power of the human spirit in the face of even the most daunting of challenges.